I thank the gentleman. Gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Carter, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank all of you for being here. Mr. Swigum, thank you for your work in the state of Georgia and with the educational system. I'm familiar with it, and I appreciate the technology that you have put forward, but I'm concerned about it. And I wanted to ask you specifically about the SLDS. I know that this is designed to help school districts and teachers to make decisions based on data-driven information. I'm also familiar, having served in the state Senate in Georgia, that just recently there was a Senate bill introduced, Senate Bill 281, that was heard by the Education Committee that brought forth a number of concerns. And I just want to ask you about some of those if I could. First of all, there was concern about this putting more work on teachers as they were having to get more information. And, you know, the last thing we need to be doing, particularly well, in any state, is to put more work on our teachers. I mean, they're overworked now and underpaid, and I just want you, can you comment briefly about that?
One of the provisions in 281 was if a teacher is going to use any kind of software package, like a doodle poll, they had to actually get permission in writing from the parents before they could use that doodle poll. And so it became where teachers couldn't use even a simplest technology thing without a laborious process to notify all the parents and then have all the parents agree to participate. And if any parent decided they didn't want to participate, then they'd be teaching half the class one way, half the class the other way. So
right.
that bill didn't move forward. Because
I understand, but it's still, I'm concerned about some of the provisions that were brought up in the bill, and that's what I wanted to question about. Secondly, transparency. There are a lot of the parents who are feeling like, you know, they need to know what the information is that's being collected, and they don't know.
Yes, I mean, the provision in there was basically pretty much covered by the privacy bill that we have today with the inventory of all our items. The thing that we have today that wasn't covered was basically any of these software packages that a teacher would use in the classroom. That was the new thing that was introduced that would provide the extra work for the teacher to do, and the transparency for the parents. But the other transparency is already covered in the privacy bill that was passed last year.
Okay. Let me ask you, there are a lot of parents who feel like no matter what you do or how hard you try, that you can't keep this information anonymous. Can you assure me that you can do that?
At the state level, we don't give out any data to anyone unless it's de-identified or aggregated up, and only after they go through an internal review board. I mean, so the data just doesn't go out from the state. So once it's de-identified, you can't reverse engineer that. You can reverse engineer aggregated data.
Well, speaking of aggregated data, is this something that's kept year after year? I mean, does it build up, or is it wiped clean once a year, or is it?
The statewide longitudinal data system has actually 8 years in it right now, and we add to it every year because that's the whole concept of longitudinal data. So if we wiped it out, we'd basically have what the districts do, which is 1 year's worth of data in their system.
But you can understand the concern of parents who might feel like, you know, this is a way to be able to find out learning abilities, and I think there are rightful concerns here among the parents.
There are. But when we pull our focus groups together from parents and we ask them what they want, they actually want a history of their kids. They want to see, you know, I've got a shoebox full of report cards in a drawer at home. It would be great if I could actually see my child's transcript for the past 6 years, his attendance rate, where he's been enrolled. And parents can see that now. They can see all of that data. They're the ones who asked for the data. Of course, with 3 million parents, there's always going to be some parents who don't want that. But the majority of the people that talk to us, they want to see that data, and they want to see the launch of.
All right, let me ask you, you had mentioned in your testimony about Georgia Tunnel. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about that? That's, as I understand it, it's designed to streamline information, submittal, and access for teachers?
Yeah, the tunnel is really just it's a technical concept. The districts wanted the teachers to stay in their local student information system. They didn't want them to leave that system, but they wanted all this longitudinal data. So the tunnel basically is a connection from the local student information system into the state system. It's an electronic connection.
Okay.
That's all the tunnel is.
All right. What about the parent portal that you introduced? What was the intent there?
The intent of the parent portal is to let the parent see the exact same information that the teacher sees. So there's not where the parent has to go and figure it out. They can actually go into the system and look at the data, that the same thing the teacher's looking at.
Right, great. You had mentioned about higher graduation rates in the state of Georgia, and while certainly it can be attributed to a number of proposals that we put forward in the past few years, certainly, you know, I'm sure this has helped to a certain degree, but we have done quite a bit in the state of Georgia to improve our graduation rates. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. Gentleman's time has expired. Gentlelady from Oregon, Ms. Bonamici, is recognized.